Hello, denizens of the universe. I'm the RWBY and Scrooge, and joining me today is...
SR Nobody.
Today we are going to be discussing Monty Ooms and Rooster Teeth's RWBY series.
Interesting, because like one of the main characters is Ruby, and then the show's Ruby, so then you kind of have to differentiate, like Ruby. Yeesh. That's one of the more confusing things when you're trying to explain it to someone new.
Yup. Just how conveniently the acronym syncs up with the main character's name. The other team acronyms don't quite have that, or they all have a color theme going on. Ruby, Juniper, Indigo, there were a couple of other...
Coffee. I think the only other team that has that issue is Team Sun.
I didn't know that's what his team was called.
Yeah, because most of his team are like S's, and then Neptune. So it's Team Sun, I guess, is what they was named.
Team SSN, Social Security Number. I'm the epitome of clever. That is an odd deviation right there. Just all of the other ones sync up with some kind of variation or interesting acronym or name for colors, and then I guess that counts as sun?
Well, I think it's probably due to a regional difference, considering that Vale, according to Ozpin's speech, Vale citizens are tending to name their kids and certain subjects after colors. So I guess it would kind of make sense for Ozpin to name teams after colors.
Yeah, that syncs up.
But then that doesn't explain Team Cardinal. Oh wait, Cardinals are red. Oh, there we go.
So you have two different shades of red, Ruby and Cardinal.
And since, let's see, it's an all-male team, so they'd be like a muddied red. Or no, a bright red?
Yeah, Cardinals are bright red, so it'd be like a bright, flashy red. If Ruby's shade of red syncs up with their red hood or the more darker shade she uses for her cape or along those lines, they'd be a bit more dark, serious red. It'd be interesting that if in Volume 4, Cardinal was given a bit more insider development. You could set them up as a thematic parallel to Ruby if you wanted to. There's no setup for that currently, but it'd be an interesting idea to go with them.
I could probably see Team Cardinal being used as like patrol security around Vale, and then that small amount of power just getting to their heads. And then they encounter Jean again after all those years.
And let's say that, what was that guy's? Cardin. His name was Cardin, right?
Yeah, Cardin Winchester.
Cardin Winchester. Let's say that he's matured a little bit. Like, how you have the classroom bully or like the middle school kid that's mean and rotten to everybody, but when they get older, they shaven up a little bit. They're a lot more mature. Let's say that, he actually goes up to Jean and asks him for a fist bump or something, and they're on surprisingly good terms. That'd be an interesting development.
It'd be like Gideon from Zootopia. Although, with Jean in Volume 4, whilst I would prefer not to have another Jean arc, since they're traveling around, I'd like to see if it's possible that they might do something with Jean's family, like showing his sisters, because in Volume 2 he said he grew up with like a whole bunch of sisters. So it might be interesting to see where, I don't know, where he got his awkwardness.
I guess it depends on what kind of situation you have. In Lincoln Loud's case, he has 10 sisters, yet he's still a pretty cool, confident fella. Maybe that wasn't necessarily the case for Jean.
Yeah, I mean, considering also Jean has to also... like, he also has that insecurity about trying to live up to the family name. And it's possible that it's... because he mentions his dad and then his grandpa, so it's probably being the only son in that family. It was all up to him, so that's probably what it was.
Possibly. There may also be the added tension that his sisters may be really competent, capable hunters, and he's the one who got the short end of the stick genetics-wise.
I wouldn't mind seeing that. That'd be kind of cool.
It'd be an interesting point to bring up, considering what kind of compliment or contrast he had with Pyrrha, too. Considering that she's this really capable badass. The moment she enters the school, everybody has such high expectations for her. What if one of Jean's sisters was set up in the same kind of way? Though, if the story took that particular turn, with one of the videos I recently made, somebody in the comments mentioned that they saw Jean and Pyrrha as more really decent friends, or saw more potential in them having a strictly platonic friendship than a romance. If the writing took that particular direction, in other words, setting up Jean's sisters as really competent, capable figures, there would be a bit more grounding to that particular fan interpretation or setup. Just food for thought, I suppose.
Yeah. Trying to digest it all in. Alright. Can't really think of anything to add.
Actually, let's just bring up the elephant in the room while that topic's kind of floating around. Pyrrha. Her dramatic fight with Cinder in the final episode of Season 3, and then gah! I originally didn't realize that this specific episode premiered over Valentine's Day weekend at that. That's freaking ironic! Horribly ironic!
And considering that was the weekend of the Headcanon Hive romance Valentine ships.
Yeah.
And now you know why people were, no, my ship sank.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad that I was one of the latecomers to RWBY in that respect, because if I'd watched it and been keeping avid tabs then, the discussion wouldn't be on ships. It'd be how disappointed I was that this particular character died, because she's arguably one of the biggest reasons to watch this series.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, just watch her landing strategy. It is one of the best things in the first few episodes.
I still have such mixed feelings about Pyrrha's death. She had so much potential as a character. There's so much further she could have gone, and then it gets cut short and I've had discussions with people and found out that this was the intention from the start. Pyrrha's death was intentional from the start. God.
Although since Monty, unfortunately, is no longer working on the show, and considering Pyrrha's popularity, it might be possible that Pyrrha might come back. I mean, classic sci-fi and fantasy trope, or I guess trope would be the right, or trope or cliche, whatever. If you don't see blood or body, then they technically are not dead. And whilst, yes, Pyrrha's body did kind of become ash, did it, though? Did it? Or was her essence being transported to, I don't know, I guess a theory where she was being transported to, what's her name? Apparently the next big bad for season 4, and then maybe Pyrrha will be corrupted and turn into like a faithful soldier, similar to like a robot, I guess a Pyrrha bot.
Pyrrha bot. The idea of that also has such irony because petty. Just one word. Petty.
There's this there's one of the tumble for you. One of the Tumblr people I follow, she Zextran, she's created a good deal of the ships and a lot of the material, and ever since season 1 has been going like her and her mutuals are like, wouldn't it be cool if like Pyrrha fought Penny? That'd be so cool in the tournament. And then it actually happens and they're just like, why? Not like this.
Yeah.
Not like this.
Volume 3. Major game changer, major shift in tone. I'm kind of wondering if this particular shift in tone is going to be the setup for the rest of the series from Volume 4 onward, or are they going to find a way to balance between the lighthearted fun and cheese near the beginning, if they're going to bring those elements back in? I'm honestly hoping that they can find or strike some kind of balance and that it's not restricted to just the tie-in series or spin-off series RWBY Chibi. Admittedly, I haven't really seen much of it, just that the style lends itself to really happy-go-lucky, more comedy-driven type fare than the main series.
Yeah, I would say RWBY Chibi kind of reminds me of Aggressive Retsuko. That's a fun series. Although, it would seem as though both RWBY and Steven Universe Season 3s got really, really dark towards the end. So we can only hope that RWBY Volume 4 follows Steven Universe Season 4 and starts off light.
Yeah, really.
You got Blake and Vale, Weiss back home, Yang home with her dad, and RWBY joining Junifer and what I'm calling Team Journey.
Don't stop believing. Obligatory older song reference. I do that in every podcast I'm on, whether it's mine or making a cameo on, shameless plug, Talking Rainbows, Talking Puppies.
I know there's another Journey song I know, I just can't remember what it is.
The wheel in the sky keeps on turning.
The wheel in the sky keeps on turning. Yeah. I guess I need to look at their discography again. Bleh. I'll add that to my list of things to do. Right after I clean up my desk area.
There's a random quote in Danny Phantom where an interviewer comes over to see Maddie Benton, and then she sees moody, angsty Danny stamping up to his room, and that his room's a complete mess, and she makes some sort of comment along the lines of, "Geniuses have messy bedrooms. That's the mark of a genius," something like that.
Or in my case, I just it's like it's chaotic. It looks like a mess, but I know where things are. It's just sometimes it's difficult to get to it. Like I got my
organized mess.
Yeah, it's organized chaos. The best kind.
Chaos.
The best kind of chaos. Which I can't say chaos around my brother anymore.
Why is that?
Because every time either he, I, or someone on one of his shows or movies says the word chaos, I will almost always quip in with chaos. In kind of like a kind of okay John Delancey Discord. And he'd just be like, "Shut up. No."
John Delancey made a win. Someday I will get that man's autograph.
Yeah, that'd be cool. There's a John Delancey story. I'll look it up later and link it, but it's pretty funny. But I digress.
Weren't we called the Derailing Podcast once? So it's within bounds here.
True.
One more digression. One of my favorite things is seeing somebody call Headcanon Hive Headcanon Hive Mind. That cracks me up every time.
What's the logic behind that?
Headcanon Hive Mind. I'm not sure, to be honest.
Can't really think of... there it is, Crown Prince. Can't really think of what the situation would be, but alright.
May just have to validate that particular title at some point and have a podcast about nothing but collective hive minds, such as Unity from Rick and Morty, or the Borg from Star Trek. Someday I am going to have a Star Trek related podcast. Already have Undertale slated for next week, so it's not just cartoons anymore. That's out on the table. Subjects are not restricted to just cartoons.
That's interesting. Yeah, the only Star Trek things I know is references I know from pop culture. And I unwittingly, there's this one machinima called The Grind, and they made a Borg reference, but I didn't know it was a Borg reference. So that was kind of weird when I found out. I'm like, oh, Star Trek. Okay.
Alright, going to get back to RWBY-related discussion. In regards to the beginning of Volume 4, the character designs for Volume 4 have been up and floating around, and my god, Yang looks so miserable. Just, it makes sense, but just, that's definitely alluding to her having a major character shift or perspective change in Volume 4.
She lost her arm, her teammate, her sister, her mom again, in a sense of, like, she's not around, in which she never was, but still, yeah. Yang needs some love in the show.
Yes. I'm not saying she has to be completely happy-go-lucky or anything, just, I'm kinda mixed on this. Yeah.
If anything, I'm predicting jokes similar to Smoky Quartz whenever, during the newest episode, Know Your Fusion, where Yang is pretty much joking about her loss of limb.
I could see her being a lot more snarky and sarcastic. Maybe she still has that vibrant flair to her, but she's just not as eccentric and open as she used to be, or not quite there yet. Just, I'm kind of trying to think of low-key sass masters, and they're kind of...
I can see it as kind of like whenever in Toy Story 1, when Buzz kind of went off the handle, and Woody asks, like, Buzz, could you give me a hand here? And Buzz throws his arm.
Yeah.
I can see Yang pulling something like that. Hey, do you think you can give me a hand here? I mean, I surely could use one. I don't know. Might be a bit dark for Yang.
Yeah, but considering what she's been through, I don't think it'd be too much of a stretch to see her as more of this, kind of dark humor, more sarcastic person.
Using comedy to mask her pain.
Yeah, pretty much. I will say this much, after what she's been through, it would be a pretty hard sell to see her snap right back to being adventurous and reckless and such. I think that she could return to the point where she's cheerful and vibrant again. It's just going to be a bit of a gradual transition. A bit more toned down than before, a bit more worldly and reserved. Not quite as energetic and bubbly as she used to be, but still coming back to having some kind of energy and being someone you want to talk to and stuff like that.
Although I've seen this comic where Yang and RWBY meet each other again after, the time gap, and it's pretty much that scene in Madagascar where it's like RWBY, Yang, RWBY, Yang, RWBY, Yang, RWBY, sugar honey iced tea. I can see Yang pulling either that with either RWBY or with Blake.
Why not both?
At the same time.
Yes!
I may have only one arm, but I'll still kick both your asses.
She probably could.
That's what it was. Although I'm a bit more, kind of curious about the dynamic between the teams for Team Journey and whichever, I guess, just Team Journey.
Don't stop believing, Team.
Alright, as I'm going to look up their discography. Crap. This Lapis thing is very back heavy.
Lapis thing?
The mini mystery things.
Oh.
Yeah, the Lapis one, she's back heavy. Keeps falling over.
I'm guessing because of the translucent or transparent water wings.
Yeah. Gotta find some place to put these. Discography. Let's see, basic songs. So Weiss Back Home.
Oh boy, that's interesting. Maybe we'll see some more winter character development. That'd be welcome.
Hopefully. Especially considering how encouraging she was for Weiss to learn the glyphs summoning.
True that. Maybe we'll see an opening sequence where Weiss has further mastered summoning glyphs and she's having some kind of epic sparring match with her sister.
I can just see it in kind of like a Pokemon standards. Giant armored suit, I choose you.
So who would their equivalent to Team Rocket be?
Team Cardinal's too good of a team, so or Team Evil's too good of, or Team Crime. Team Crime's too good, so I guess Team Cardinal.
We will steal your glyphs, and then make more petty revenge plans. We are going to dump this jam on somebody for making us look stupid in the classroom. I can't get over how ridiculous that particular plot thread was. I mean, I get where they were going with it, and Volume 1 as a whole kind of still trying to find its footing and really get into its stride, but just... God! Did Jean really need a schoolyard bully to find his confidence?
I mean, couldn't that wait till Volume 2? Because one issue many of the fans had with the whole Jean arc in Volume 1 is that shouldn't the show, for at least the first season, focus mostly on the main team and their development?
True that. It actually came to the point where Jean and Vera were more interesting than the mains at some points.
Yeah, it's why it's why I refer to RWBY as the show that fans love, not because of the show, but because of what the fans do. Because I've seen a lot more interesting fan content involving the characters than in canon.
I'm going to say something a bit controversial here. That's definitely the case I've seen with Ladybug. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. Wait, was there a release date for season 2 of that?
I haven't seen anything.
I'm on Wikipedia. I'll look it up real quick.
The last I saw of that was somebody discussing the Comic-Con hype and episode date releases and junk.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a Christmas special and a Halloween special.
So we're going to have to wait until October for new Ladybug. Fun. After this week, Star's going on hiatus. And yeah. My big cartoon right now is Star vs. the Forces of Evil. Kind of transition between stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty much in the sense of what show's currently on. That one? Alright, let's go towards that. Oh, it's going on hiatus? Alright, let's go to the next one.
Pretty much.
Not finding any information on Ladybug.
Another note about RWBY Season 1. You have the whole Cardin picking on Jean thing. And then I remember seeing another review sort of, pointing out just how ridiculous RWBY and Y's first big argument was. Just how that played out. The one big takeaway from that, or one of the better scenes, was the counselor and somebody else pulling RWBY and Y's aside and giving them a talk, telling them how important it is to respect the leader or play their role, or how to better understand their role. That was a really decently set up part, but just the issue itself, I don't know. The conflict or general spats between RWBY and Wise are just kinda in the first place. I guess it makes sense. There's some interest there, considering their personalities clash and they're both fairly childish, so they're going to handle their issues in a childish way. I don't know.
Well, rewatching Volume 1, yeah, it did kind of seem a bit rushed, considering it happened directly one episode after RWBY was made team leader and Team RWBY was formed. I mean, if they had done this kind of thing, I'd like to say a couple episodes afterwards, then maybe it might work a little bit better. But we got to make sure we got a Jean arc in.
Yeah, gotta shoehorn that one in. Why did... Alright, going to move over to giving more praise, or rather, more positives. Volume 2, the production quality definitely picked up.
Right, yeah.
Writing became a little bit tighter, too.
Yeah, and we got less shadow people.
Oh yeah, that was a big one.
Which...
Your background characters actually have faces, and they might have some kind of story, rather than just being nondescript shadows.
Which they actually make a joke about that in RWBY Chibi, with all the shadow people. I think Volume 2 was the introduction of Zwei, the dog.
Oh yeah.
It's the German lessons. Whenever I see, because Zwei being German for two, which the dog being a corgi, and it's a reference to Cowboy Bebop and their corgi Ein, which that's German for one. So literally, it's Ein Zwei.
To be honest, I just kind of forgot the name of the dog. Not on purpose, just...
It's just like whenever RWBY brings it along with the on the mission. It's like, so you and Professor Ublex is like, so let me get this straight. You decided to bring, we're in the midst of a very dangerous territory, and you decided to bring a dog. Yes? Brilliant! Dogs have a much keener sense than humans.
I like Ublex. I liked him from his introduction. Just his quick movements and speedy way of talking, and just his overall sort of disheveled appearance, like he's always in a rush to get somewhere.
He's a more
hyperactive
and more sassy Simon Petrikov.
Pretty much. I love it when the kind of nerdy intellectual types have a bit of an eccentric side to them. Just some kind of weird little quirks or mannerisms, like Ublex here, or even Bored and Dungeons and more Dungeons and Gravity Falls. Just showing the more eclectic side of their personality.
Or even like Simon Petrikov trying to entertain Marceline by recreating episode of Cheers.
Yes, details like that.
Yes.
It was nice to see a bit of insight or further character development and rounding out for Ublex too. How he approached each of Team RWBY sort of made him start thinking, why do you want to become a hunter, or rather huntress? I've been watching lots of Hunter x Hunter recently, so getting terms jumbled up and mixed up here. But yeah, just kind of getting him to think in a bit of a more introspective way. Think about the bigger picture, showing just how thoughtful and considerate a character he is. And then the whole badass run on top of a scene and help him beat up the bad guys thing. Badass professors, yes.
Teaming up with Zwei.
Yes, that was the best part. Shooting him like a bullet, and Spy knew exactly what to do. If there's anything that's a really big draw for RWBY, it's how ridiculous and over the top the fight scenes are. Just all of the exotic mixes of weapons. Just about every other thing is some kind of gun.
It's also a gun.
I love that. That's the big draw for watching RWBY. Just what kind of explosive creativity is put into these scenes. Like, again, Spy shooting out of Ublex ad hoc or makeshift cannon. That, Stuff like that. That is what makes this show so fun. That's the big draw.
It's gotten to the point for where now, if I ever see like weapon combinations on a different show or a movie, I'm just like, what is this, RWBY? Although not in like a meanish way. It's like, it's RWBY. We got guns and nunchucks. Gunchucks.
It's not a RWBY TM weapon without a gun. It has to have a gun. A spear, it's also a gun. Nunchucks, they're also a gun. Nightsticks, it's got a gun.
See that gun? Move it this way, and it's a different gun. Actually, that's something I kind of hope for Volume 4, is that RWBY helps Jean turn his family heirloom sword and shield into a gun.
Yes!
Which, I've been playing a bunch of Monster Hunter Generations, and one of the weapons that I use, I main the dual blades, but one of my side weapons is the charge blade, which is this sword and shield that morphs into this huge axe, and you fill up vials, and if you got all of them charged, or even just 3, you can do a massive explosion attack. I can just see RWBY trying to do something like that with Jean's sword and shield.
Yes. Just so much yes. My favorite is Coco's great big automatic machine gun. Just how it bolts up into this purse or a handbag or whatever. She pulls it out, it transforms into this great big gun. She's the only one that outright just carries this great big gun.
Although, to quote RWBY whenever Jean was explaining his weapon, it's like, but wait, doesn't that just weigh the same? Yeah, it does. Although, speaking of Coco, like, she's part of the team with Velvet on Team Coffee. Something that kind of bugged me and a lot of other like people who likes Velvet. Where was the rest of Team Coffee when Velvet was being bullied by Cardin?
That's a good point. Maybe at that particular point in time they didn't have the concepts drawn up yet, or...
They could probably explain it along the lines of, oh, the rest of them were out doing training. That's probably how they'd explain it, but yeah, it's one of those like, oh, come on. And then considering we see how powerful Velvet is, it's like, come on, Velvet. It's like you could have beat them before. You could have beaten all before even one of them hit the ground.
Yeah, she's a secret badass, though. In the series' defense, sometimes it takes again, Volume 1 was when they were first starting to flesh out or develop their characters and world and stuff like that. And it was clunky and kind of awkward in several different places. The whole bullying arc in general was questionable.
True. Although if Pyrrha was always destined to die, then shouldn't they be thinking? And this, really, it's just me. It's my writing style. Is that whenever I come up with a story, every time I create a character, I tend to think almost every single detail of what's going to happen to said character and their relationship to every other character. So, I'm not really that kind of a nitpicky person when it comes to continuity like that. It's why I hardly ever get anything done, because I'm trying to make sure everything lines up.
Maybe we'll get a scene in Volume 4 to make up for it when Cardin is pulling some kind of Team Rocket move. I refuse to give up this idea. And she just beats him up with her awesome weapon. Just pummels him into the ground. And or maybe there's just some kind of random sparring scene, like there was with Pyrrha and Team Cardinal. Except this time it's Velvet cleaning house with them.
Although, speaking of that Pyrrha versus Team Cardinal, if it's supposed to be like a friendly little spar, what was the situation that allowed Glinda to allow all of Team Cardinal to fight Pyrrha? Was it just Cardinal going like, yeah. It's like, yeah, I'll fight her. But, I want the rest of my team with me. Cardin, that's not really allowed. No, I'll allow it. Meanwhile, in Pyrrha's head, yes, finally, revenge for Jean. We'll break his legs.
Granted, when setting up the spars, that might be one of the few chances they get to train students one-on-one. And it's highly likely that different students have different levels of competency and how capable they are. While Jean was the exception, not being quite as capable as everybody else, there'd still be differences in aptitude or abilities in hand-to-hand combat, ranged attacks, etc. Maybe Pyrrha was facing off against 3 different opponents at once because that would give her better practice than otherwise. Maybe she's mastered one-on-one fights, and to give her more of a challenge, it's better if she has 3 different people and has to account for more dramatic and different variables than she would one-on-one.
Yeah, chances are Glenda wanted to make sure Pyrrha was in top form.
Especially considering the Fall Maiden plot thread.
Yeah, that plot thread. Although some people are predicting that Ruby's become the new Fall Maiden.
Maybe?
I don't
know about that.
It's a theory, and I don't really completely subscribe to it. I'm just like, maybe?
I don't know. I get the impression that when Cinder came in and killed Amber and siphoned off the rest of the Fall Maiden power, that she interrupted the Fall Maiden is chosen naturally kind of lineup.
Maybe we'll see summer, spring, and winter.
That's likely. Winter in the brief setup where they had silhouettes of the 4 different maidens, she bared too much of a coincidental resemblance to Wise and Winter. One of them could be in line for becoming the next Winter Maiden. I wouldn't strike that out as a possibility. Not going to completely weigh into it, because that could really easily be a red herring, but I'm not going to discount it as a possibility either.
Yeah, although kind of seem a bit predictable.
Hence why I made the red herring comment. It could be somebody else completely.
Such as the Fiery Yang.
Now that'd definitely be a surprise.
I'm just imagining all of Team RWBY having the power of the maidens and then fighting whatever big bad, like big ultimate, this is my final form villain that we eventually get. Yeah, it'd probably be an intense scene. Probably get like half of the season will be on the fight. Get like a Dragon Ball Z announcer. Previous.
3 episodes of just...
Previously on RWBY. Last time on RWBY. Frieza, this Grim lady has accessed her final form. I don't know. Trying to come up with it off the fly.
You think it's her final form, but she has 3 others! And there's one that's platinum and chrome, too!
And then a future cyborg self comes in from the future to assist her past self.
And then Marty McFly comes in and has to save everybody from the time loops and time paradoxes.
Nah. Marty McFly, that's not Marty's job. If anything, it'd be the job of a Voyager. Oh, right. There was a show way back called The Voyagers, and it's kind of sad how it got canceled. But the premise of it is that there's this group of time travelers that are like, they have a specific time period, like between this date and this date, that they kind of go through, and they go to a specific time, what their indicator says, and then like if the indicator said which is called the Omni, it sends them to that time. They find out what's wrong, they fix it, and then they go on to the next one. It was a pretty good show. And the reason why it got canceled is because the main character, Phineas Bogg, like they were doing a stunt and the prop gun accidentally misfired and it killed him.
Apt parallel. Killed off a much-loved character like Pyrrha and RWBY. I'm not gonna let this sit. I just won't.
Nah, it's been months and some people still haven't gotten over Pyrrha.
Can you blame them? Pyrrha's just... She's great! Just... I don't know how else to... It just... I like this character. I like this character a lot.
Although, imagine if the one theory, or the one crack theory I surmised with her being teleported, imagine if she's in like some kind of corrupting cocoon-like thing, like a stasis pod, and then Jean rescues her, and then she wakes up and just replies with a weak, "Hello again."
I don't know.
And crack
I'll just
theory.
be brutally honest here. I prefer that they just stick with Pyrrha staying dead. They made the effort to kill off this particular character to the effect of, this is going to lead to Jean's character development. This is going to lead to him coming into his own, becoming a more formidable leader, just stuff like that. Just stick with it. Just stick with that particular plot thread. As much as I like Pyrrha as a character, just mixed feelings about the idea of her getting resurrected. I just have the feeling that could be a train wreck if not handled in just the right way, or that I just don't have a good feeling about it.
Yeah, as long as we get more development with Ren and Nora, I'll be okay.
Would be nice to see a bit more, or to get a bit more insight or development on how those two met, or just some kind of storyline following.
I think it was
expanding on.
I think it was hinted at in Volume 3 that they're orphans.
Oh, wow!
And that's how they met at the orphanage, and they've been together ever since. Well, not together.
Stop dangling the ship bait there. Just decide to take it one way or the other and leave it. With their kind of dynamic, it could go either way. I don't really care what they do, either keeping them platonic or romantic, but it would be interesting to see more context for how they operate, how they met, what personal character dilemmas and such they might be dealing with, or just more about them in general. That'd definitely be a very much welcome development.
Although, shippy-wise, there's a pretty funny skit in the RWBY Chibi series. I'm not going to ruin it, but it's after Pyrrha gets reintroduced, so I can't remember what episode that is. But yeah, I just love that. Ren. Oh, or like in one of the later episodes, I like one of the jokes with Ren. Like they're playing Spin the Bottle. Jean spins it, and it goes all around. It almost lands on Pyrrha, and she's like, it's like, yeah. And then it passes her, and it almost lands on Weiss, and Weiss is like, ah. Then it lands on Ren. Everyone's just staring at Ren, and he's just like, looks at Jean, and then like, gets a breath freshener.
God.
Ren don't care. He's just following the rules.
Apparently so.
Although I think my favorite interaction between Jean and Ren is whenever Jean's asking Ren for advice, but Ren just got out of the shower.
That scene's great. Just
like, I really think like you're kind of like the brother I never had, and I you.
Ren comes across as one of those, as a more quiet, he likes to be left to his own druthers and devices kind of bellow. The dynamic between him and Nora seems more like they've just known each other long enough that they know how the other operates. They leave each other alone for the most part. You know shit's going down if they argue or bicker with each other, but for the most part, she knows just to let Ren do his own thing. Whereas Jean, let the guy finish his shower first before going and asking for deep, intimate advice.
Or at least let him get dressed.
Definitely would like some more definitely would like some expansion on what Ren and Nora are like beyond just kind of quiet, thoughtful fellow and eccentric. I got a great big Thor hammer and I can beat everybody with it. Nora.
Although I think one of the bigger disappointments for Volume 3 is the fact that, okay, Team Juniper advanced to the next round, but we never got to see their doubles fight. It's like we saw Yang and Weiss in their doubles fight, but we never saw Team Juniper, which more than likely would have been Pyrrha and probably Nora.
Missed opportunity! Such a missed opportunity. Damn it.
Although, it's like just Nora's semblance being activated. It's like she literally is. I love the theming behind Team Juniper. All of them are based off of characters who have cross-dressed.
I did not know that.
Yeah, basically each of them are Rule 63s of their base character. Like Jean Arc being obviously based off of Joan of Arc. Nora Valkyrie being based off of Thor, who once dressed up like his own mom to trick a frost giant so that way he can get into their base and steal his mom's famous jewel back from the frost giant, which the frost giant wanted to marry Freya. And so Thor was just like, all right, Mom, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to dress up like you and go in as though I'm going to marry him. And Loki went along with it. Loki was the escort. Let's see. Pyrrha Nikos being based off of Achilles, who, due to his mom, dressed him up like a woman in order to avoid going to the Trojan War because she knew that he died in that war. And then finally, Lai Ren is based off of Mulan. Let's get down to business.
To defeat the Hun.
So there's that reference. Yeah, and then Ozpin's team is based off of The Wizard of Oz, although we don't have all of the members. We've got 3 out of 4, kind of. Because you got Ozpin as the wizard, Glinda as Glinda the Good Witch, and then Ironwood as the Tin Man.
Makes sense that you'd have some kind of mythological reference or set up for all the other teams, considering that the main RWBY team is inspired by fairy tales.
Yeah, almost every character is based off of, I guess, some other thing, like Carden. He's based off of the judge who burnt Joan of Arc, who sentenced her to death. So I guess that kind of explains Carden and Jean's rivalry.
Yeah, now that makes a lot more sense. Just still wish it'd been better executed, or just not put in there at all.
Or at least held off.
Yeah.
Alright, let's see. Velvet is based off of the Velvet Rabbit, and I can't remember what the rest of Team Coffee is based off of.
Isn't Coco pretty much inspired slightly by Coco Chanel or something?
That's a product, but is that like a myth? No?
Don't think so.
It's I know that Mercury is based off of Hermes, and Cinder is Cinderella, and then can't remember all of them. I'm trying to do this off the top of my head, too.
Just pull up the wiki. This isn't a test. You're allowed to cheat.
But I feel so wrong cheating. Alright. RWBY Wiki. RWBY Wikia. Wikia.
Speaking of Cinder being inspired by Cinderella, the episode kind of focusing or starting to hint at how she got started and how she got the half of the full maiden powers she holds until the final episode. I feel like there was a missed opportunity in giving her a little bit more background. I get the appeal of making her seem mysterious or that there's more to her that the viewer doesn't know. But just some kind of hint or better hints at what her underlying motivation was. It just kind of felt like a series of vignettes. She's starting to make her way up there. She's starting to get closer to her goal. But what makes her so hell-bent on getting the Fall Maiden powers? What does she plan on doing with them? Could they drop a few more hints, or am I just dense? Is there something here I'm not getting? Or...
Nah, it's not you. It's everyone. Like, the fact that we never really got like a clear understanding of what her plan was made for all those lines whenever she goes, "We're moving on to the next phase," made a lot of fans go, how many phases are in this plan? Explain, show. Explain.
Yeah, with what kind of tone shift they're going for, I'm sorry, but with Cinder, you can't get away with evil for the sake of being evil. Or maybe you could, depends on how it's written, but just... she obviously has some kind of a big driving motivation here. Enough that she went to all this effort to set up this elaborate multi-tiered plan.
Yeah. Cinder's true motivation. Yes, we shall rule the world. We shall have all this power. Think of it. All the power. All of the money. All of the free chicken.
I could see free chicken as a motivator for Lord Dominator from Wander Over Yonder. But the way Cinder's set up, she gladly, she'll kill people that are in her way. There have been arms ripped off. Just the tone shift they're going for? No, she's pulling political strings and going for some grander scale thing.
Yeah, considering her little speech at the ending of Volume 3 when she let loose a grim apocalypse on Vale. Looking it up, Team Coffee just seems to be based off of, like, Brown. Like, Yatsuhashi Dashi, his last name and stuff, referencing 8 Bridges of Earth, large, great, earth, land, then cocoa and stuff, chocolate.
Insert obligatory reference to chocolate fish from SpongeBob here.
When was that?
Chocolate! Chocolate!
I love how people were editing that with Jasper whenever she caught up with Lapis. Now that I've caught up to you, I just have one question. I'd like to buy some chocolate.
I'll bet Coco gets that all the time.
Although, yeesh, those last few episodes with Jasper.
Yeah, saving that for a different podcast.
Looking at the final member of Team Coffee, Fox Alistair. Yeah, there's not. Doesn't seem like there's a theme behind them.
Probably going to be a couple of oddballs or randoms in the mix.
Yeah, true. Although I think one of the more disappointing things is, I guess, Adam and the White Fang.
He was a similarly odd motivation villain.
Yeah, because I don't know how to explain it. It's just his whole I don't really know how to explain it.
I have extreme hatred for humans, but I'm going to team up with Torchwick because reasons. I hate humans.
Your actions don't really match what you're saying. Humans!
This one gives me weapons, so he's okay.
This one gives me weapons. He is fine. He is my friend.
He is misanthropic. So if you're misanthropic and hate all humans, you're okay with me.
Although I like one person's comic where Adam's having a meeting with Cinder. He's like, "You will join our plan." "I'm not joining with any humans. I know where Blake Belladonna is. In fact, I've got pictures." "You've got pictures? I'll join."
What kind of pictures? Oh god, that's kind of creepy to think about.
I don't know. Cinder and Emerald have a bit more access to certain areas, so. Ugh.
I had a discussion with somebody about RWBY, and they brought up just how creepy an age difference there is between Blake and Adam. How old is this guy? How old is he to be this extremist, speciesist leader? Like mid to late 20s at the youngest? Just.
Well,
Okay, I'm curtailing this right here before it gets creepy.
It's Adam. It's always creepy. Although, to be fair, in his introduction in the Black trailer, he wasn't creepy. He was more like, man, this guy means business.
What happened between the trailer and the show?
Explain, show. Explain. This is one of those instances where I would kind of be okay if they had supplemental material, like, say, a comic, like a graphic novel or something.
They have the World of Remnant episodes in between, talking about lore.
And they also have the RWBY manga.
I did not know about that.
I haven't read it, but probably. I mean, I don't think it expands on anything. I haven't seen any theories using it as a basis.
Lost potential.
I guess that's kind of what happens whenever you decide to focus on other things.
Yeah. It seems like there was build up to the big Blake versus Adam showdown. And how much Blake believes in finding some kind of equality between Bonus and humans. But this plot thread it got swept aside or shuffled under the rug in favor of Cinder's up to something. And she sent out Torchwick to do something. They're going to do the thing, Julie, and we need to find out what that thing is.
I could probably see it as a better usage of Adam if, say, remove him from Volume 3 and instead have Torchwick and Cinder and all of them using the White Fang, and then, of course, all that happens, all that goes down, and then Volume 4, let's see, if we assume Cinder is trapped in crystal along with that giant wyvern, then probably Emerald or the next in line, whoever that is, I don't know, probably would be Emerald. I mean, considering it'd either be Emerald or Neo. Yeah, because Cinder's in crystal. Torchwick is, he's coming out the other end. Yeah.
He's dead.
He did. And it's not like, and it won't be like Wampa territory. Although that would kind of be funny. Like you see him later cutting his way out of that grim. And I thought they smelled bad on the outside. So, and then Neo flying off like Mary Poppins. So,
a spoonful of sugar helps me get away from these monsters. I'm going to stop singing today because I'm very off key.
See, so it probably would be Emerald, because I don't see Mercury as a viable candidate for leader.
No.
So it'll either be Mercury or whoever this grim lady is, But I can just... Okay, so imagine if instead of Adam being in season 3, imagine him being in season 4, being sent as... to take a small platoon of elite White Fang soldiers to essentially hunt down RWBY and Team RWBY themselves. In a sense of, oh, crap, a silver-eyed huntress. We must eliminate her, or before she ruins our plans. I mean, that's probably why Summer died. She was probably killed off by Team Crime. So then it would make sense for Adam to be a bit more of this creepy stalker character if he literally was stalking Team RWBY, although he'd probably be more focused on Blake.
That setup would make a lot more sense.
Oh no, and if he uses Yang as bait.
More
no!
Bumblebee shippers would go nuts.
And monochrome shippers would be like, eh.
Which one's monochrome? I'm sorry, I'm not really familiar with the shipper jargon for...
Blake and Weiss, monochrome, also known as Checkmate.
Oh, okay.
Yes. I think RWBY's probably the... Like, I haven't seen this many names for ships in any other fandom that I've ever, like, lurked around in. And so to try and keep a track of all of them is rather a daunting task.
And I thought Wander Over Yonder had odd ship names. But then again, to RWBY's credit, a lot of the ship names are pretty thematically appropriate and tie in with the show.
A bit, yeah. Because, like, RWBY and Blake is Ladybug. And then, of course, you've got Blake and Yang as Bumblebee. Yeah, I think the fans just named them based off of, like, the color scheme.
Hey, works with the, team name acronyms and such.
True. Yeah, that's probably why. But then that also works for things like triple ships, like Blake, Weiss, and RWBY being known as Newspaper.
I dig it.
Yeah. It's one of those puns that I'm like, what? Why? Oh, clever fans.
Speaking of Adam being a bigger part of Volume 4, if you held off on bringing in the big bad, that actually give him a lot more breathing room too. He could be the focus for a few episodes. You could get more expansion or history on how Blake joined the rebellion and what it was like for just a little bit more context there. And it would be nice to see just a little bit more context on that front. Just the way this is set up, it's way too big in scope just to remain this B plot too. No offense to Cinder or the other big bad, but just Blake and Adam's strange relationship dynamic and the whole Faunus revolution. There's a lot of potential for bringing that to the forefront for a while.
To which, considering Blake kind of alluded to the fact that the White Fang originally was a rather peaceful organization, but then the previous head of the White Fang was, she kind of alluded to a more violent stepping down. I don't know. I guess what probably would have been better is if they had, instead of shoehorning in Adam at almost the last minute, because throughout Volume 4, you'd never really see Adam until like the last few episodes. And then I guess he was just there to... disarm Yang.
Apparently.
So, yeah, if they instead had him more focus on an entire season worth. If they had, and they can have Blake and Adam basically forming two varying factions of White Fang, in a sense of White Faunus that believe that don't believe humans can coexist with faunus, and faunus that want to coexist. And then their ideologies coming to a head towards the end, and Cinder somehow being involved. Great, now I gotta add this to the list. Add it to the list of rewrite show idea.
Where does Cinder fit in with Adam's plans? Is Cinder just some kind of chaos goddess or something? What caused her to go to the point where she's going to muck with people and find some way to tame the Grimms and need the big epic powers that the Fall Maiden has? Why does she need this stuff?
Explain, show, explain.
Okay. Should have set up a counter for this, because that's like, what, the third or fourth time this point has come up? And this is the second time I've complained about Cinder's villain motivation.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because if we know... Alright, like, okay, there are some villains that it's okay not to know their backstory. And then there are some villains where we do need to know their backstory. For instance, villains like, say, Lord Dominator. We don't really need to know her backstory. We know that she enjoys chaos and destruction. So we can just all assume that she's always been like that. And then we have villains like... I'm trying to think of a good one. I guess... to add with Lord Dominator, add Bill Cipher in there. But we have villains like, I want to say no.
I just thought of a good one. Toppy from Star Versus. The way he's been built up, he's tied in with the political tensions between humans and monsters.
Yeah, he's one of the villains that we kind of need to know a bit more. Or we need to know a bit more about him and his backstory and stuff. Or at least that's what I think.
Pretty much agreed here. The way that they're setting up the humans versus monsters motif, and how mysterious a figure Toppy was. He just kind of came out of nowhere, took over Ludo's operation, and then more or less blew himself up to get rid of the wand. There's a lot of mystery surrounding this fellow. What was his driving motivation? He carries himself with the same or similar kind of air to what Adam does. It's actually an apt parallel because it's political tensions between two different factions and them coexisting in a world together. It's not exactly the same. Star Versus isn't going to delve into quite the same nuances or details as what RWBY could get away with, but just that basic setup and structure. Could take a couple of notes from Toppy, implement this for RWBY, but where Star Versus can only cover so much, or is only going to cover so much due to its tone and setup, RWBY could delve so much further. There's a lot of potential for commentary on tension between races or racial conflict. There's a lot of potential, and RWBY could go so far because they don't have a network overhead. They're setting up to the point that they're willing to push the envelope and go a bit more extreme. Hence why Yang's arm got cut off, Pyrrha's death, why they're making moves like that.
Yeah, so I guess one of the things is if they had instead focused on one villain, almost either one or two villains at a time, I guess, instead of constantly introducing characters. I mean, most of the episodes are rather short, so you can't keep introducing characters and expect the audience, especially whenever you get like the DVDs and stuff and watch it as a movie. And it's kind of my problem with Gravity Falls Season 2 is that when you actually watch all of it together, it seems rather like they're sprinting towards the end.
Pretty much. There are a lot of characters that have really interesting potential, and I would love to see more of them. With Rin and Nora being at the forefront, because they're pretty major secondary characters behind John and Pyrrha.
Yeah, one of my first posts on my Tumblr was 4 things I'd like to see in RWBY Volume 4. And Ren and Nor getting more development is on that list. It's like it's been 3 volumes and we still have barely any character development for Teen Sloth. And as such, I would very much prefer an episode, at least, to help remedy this.
Speaking of disjointed villains, for some reason, bringing up how many different ones there are, and just new characters being constantly introduced, it reminds me of how Shaolin Chronicles tried to cram all their villain introductions into the first 2 or 3 episodes, when in Showdown, it was staggered over a couple of different seasons. Chase Young didn't come in until much later in Showdown, and that's why he came with the kind of gravity and seriousness that he did originally. But in Chronicles, he steps out with this thunder and lightning motif going on, and all I'm thinking is Diet Scar from The Lion King. Be prepared. Just this isn't Chase Young. I've never been able to go back and watch the rest of Chronicles because of this, but just to say a similar kind of vibe here with Adam or Neo, or just so Torchwick was the big bad for this one, and then just give your villains some motivation. They're playing some major scale stuff here. You have a guy that's the leader of an extremist movement. You have a gal that's pretty much playing chaos goddess, releasing grips, messing with political structures or governmental structures. Why is she doing this? Why did Adam become a political extremist? Was he originally one of the better White Fang? What caused him to be this way?
Although thinking about it now, I'm thinking, I think it was alluded to Team Crime being from not Vale, but from one of the more poorer districts, and they're trying to shake things up.
That's true. There was emphasis, or some of the dialogue cutaways and scenes had them discussing how are we going to get more resources, or just slowly building up. I get the impression, or out of Team Crime, I get the impression that Emerald was kind of drawn to Cinder because she saw the possibility of moving up and getting out of what kind of state of life she had before, that Cinder offered her something better than what she had. Or a better state of affairs.
And then Mercury, just cuz.
Another character that's just...
Although there. I'd like to point out how rather idiotic Mercury is. It's like, he fakes his leg injury, Cinder tells him to lay low, and what happens in the next episode? Oh, hi, Ruby. I'm sorry, Mercury, but where you're from, does lay low mean expose your hiding place?
I'm a hangout under the Coliseum. Anyone could stumble on in here and find me. And lo and behold, it's Yang's younger sister, Ruby. The one person who'd have significant say or follow-up. Or just the worst possible person that could find him standing there.
Although, I like this one comic someone did shortly after that episode, where Ruby's like, Mercury, you're walking. You're fine. I'm going to go tell Emerald. Because I think the person who drew it was kind of like a Ruby and Emerald shipper. Like, Let's see. Also on the list was individual episodes for each member of Team RWBY, now that they're split up. Yeah, just to see what each one of them are doing. And then eventually it all comes together at some point in the season. And then flashback episodes for Summer, Raven, Crow, and Taiyang.
That's definitely much needed. You could definitely tie in one with what's going on with Yang. I forgot who Yang's
Raven
was. Yeah, maybe have Raven reflecting on her past and sort of cut flashbacks with what Yang is doing at the present time. That could be interesting. Maybe make it two-parter. have them.
Although considering Crow is following Team Journey, he probably might see parallels between his former team and Team Journey and might think about the past there. So, yeah. Or Tyane could probably be telling Yang some stories whilst she's there at home recuperating. Let's see. And then I think the last one on the list was White Fang Defectors. Like an anti-White Fang group with Blake being the leader, which I think I brought up.
Doesn't hurt to bring it up again. Actually, a plot point that came up in Volume 3's finale. Why did Blake run off? I can't English today.
Yeah, you'd think that she'd probably want to stick near her teammate. And we'll probably get the whole, Adam's after me, you're safer if I'm away.
Yeah.
Which I'm so glad that... okay, they tried to pull that, or it looked like they were going to pull that in Steven Universe, like shortly after the Homeworld gems, like the ship and all that, and then with Steven and Connie, like and that whole phone call and stuff. I am so glad that instead of Steven trying to like be like, no, it's too dangerous to be around me, I'm so glad that instead they went the route of, no, I don't want that. I still want to be friends. Because it would have been so annoying if Steven had forsaken a friendship with Connie.
I wonder if that episode was giving commentary or poking fun at that particular setup for the trope.
Yeah, because it is rather annoying. I mean, imagine almost every other superhero story if the superhero in question just told their friend, like their family and closest friends, what they were doing. Imagine how many like arguments Peter Parker would not be in if he had just been like, if he had just told like certain friends or family, and then they won't be like, oh, why are you always late, Peter? And did you not look? Here's the front page of the Daily Bugle. There I am fighting the Rhino. Oh, that's why you're late. Okay. I guess that's probably why I like the concept of the current Blue Beetle, Jaime Reyes.
I'm guessing everybody knows the secret.
Pretty much, yeah.
That's how more superhero shows should be written. The secret identity thing is just...
Especially in today's society where we have cameras and stuff almost everywhere. So really, heroes and villains wouldn't be able to like sneak away and change costumes. But then again, that kind of brings into the whole like Civil War argument. Like, should heroes be known? Like, should superheroes be known, or should they be able to keep their identity? And that is a derailed discussion. Team Cap or Team Iron Man? Although I agree with Team Cap.
Okay, going to need... Definitely shelving the idea of rant about how ridiculous the superhero secret identity plot thread is for a future podcast, because just... I could rant for an entire hour about that. I really could. Just not going to do it here.
Yeah, it would not be the... right title.
RWBY podcast. Nope. It's an hour-long rant about why do superheroes have secret identities? What does this have to do with teenage gals with ridiculous, over-the-top weapons, and every weapon has a gun attached? What does it have to do with that?
Yeah, so Volume 4 wishlist is, I guess, more character development for the ones we've already got. Less new characters. A bit more backstory for certain things. And I'd say, like, the action sequences are almost always flawless. I think one things that, like, got me to really like the show is, in Volume 1, that fight with the Nevermore. That was a good one. Just the whole plan is to have Ruby run up a cliff with its head in her scythe and then decapitate it. Yeah, that was a moment that whenever I watched that, I was just like, yeah! Oh, man. I think I love this show.
Pretty much.
I mean, the red trailer got me hyped. And then, like, the white trailer, I was kind of like, eh. And the black trailer, I was like, eh. And then the yellow trailer. Okay, the red and the yellow trailer are, like, my favorites. Especially, like, that moment when Yang takes one of the... can't remember what their names were, like, the sisters. Like, she spins one around and then, like, just drop kicks them. That is one of my favorite moments in that fight sequence.
Any other last or closing comments?
Let's see. Well, if there's one thing I don't want in season 4 is another Jean arc. I mean, a Jean arc would be okay as long as we don't focus too much on it.
It's not just going to be an arc. It's going to be an entire season about Jean finding himself and making his weapon and a whole bunch of other Jean things. And he starts up a weird, awkward romance with RWBY for a while, and there's a couple of episodes on that.
It's not just the White Rose shipper and me that's disgusted. It's the shipper and me in general. I like them as platonic friends.
Same here. I just wanted to rustle some jimmies.
It's like, ugh.
I'm a White Rose shipper too.
One of us. One of us.
Blame Eric Rivera for getting me started on that.
You should see the henceforward comic series. It's a RWBY AU where let's see if I remember right. It's called the henceforward AU. Blake betrayed Team RWBY, became a criminal. Yang became a criminal because I guess what happened is that Blake attacked like Schnee, like someone very important in the Schnee company, and Yang claimed, like, in order to save Blake, Yang claimed that she was the one that let her in, and so now Yang's a criminal, but also Blake is a criminal, and then RWBY, and during the fight, RWBY got incredibly injured, so she didn't technically become a huntress, but she is a huntress. And then Weiss is she's the head of the Schnee Dust Company now, and it's this whole thing of RWBY trying to find Blake, but it's got White Rose as its primary ship.
Nice.
And Pyrrha's alive, so that's a plus.
Yes. Liking it better.
Although not in full fighting form.
That's okay.
Oh, let Volume 4 at least let us know, or at least get a hint at Ren and Jean's semblance.
True that. Pretty much every other character is known by now.
Although, like, because I was rewatching the episodes to get ready for this, and so when it got to Pyrrha talking about her semblance to RWBY and Weiss, it's like, and I control polarity. She controls poles. No, you don't. She has master over magnetism. Magnets are cool too. Alright. Let's see. Anything else in Volume 4? Nothing I can think of.
I don't really have anything either. Covered the major points I really wanted to, which was pretty much Cinder, what the hell is your motivation? And Jean and the bully, and just... yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah. Although, if they do add more characters, maybe add some very, very, very odd and obscure fairy tale characters. Like, for instance, Faithful John. Oh, it is a messed up story. Whenever, like for Free Comic Book Day, my brother and I, we go up to Greenwood and stuff to go to the comic book store there. We get our free comics, and we tend to save money. Like, my brother tends to save money for at least half a year. I just save money for a month. But so we go there, we get our free comics, we buy comics that aren't free, and then we go over to the bookstore and we buy a whole bunch of books with whatever's left. And this year, one of the books I bought was let me look how many pages. Come on. No, I don't want the glossary. A 507-page book about Grimm's fairy tales.
Fun.
And I'm only 73 pages in. But one of the stories got me incredibly... Like, I'm reading it towards the end. Like, at first it seems normal. And then it gets towards the end, and I'm just like, what the hell was that? And that's what Faithful John is. It's just me going, what the hell just happened? It's one of those.
Okay.
A little spoiler for it in a sense of a hint. One of the ways to break a curse in the Faithful John story is children decapitation. That's how you break a curse. But
I felt horrible for looking up certain Greek myths the other day.
I love Greek myths. Don't worry, though. The kids are fine.
Okay, the cricket in the background is incredibly appropriate.
Yeah, I don't know if that's inside the house or if it's just outside the back door.
Viewers who have been watching Headcanon Hive for a while, looks like Chadwick moved over to SR Nobody's place.
Yeah, you should see it at work. We got crickets all over the place this time of year.
Chadwick has come back and he's at SR's house. Hanging out with him.
Hanging out with me and my two lazy cats.
Yep. Expecting fan art, Will. Alright.
Aloha.
Good night, everybody.